Yo, what is going on, guys? J.Yumeko here, and today we're back with some more of the house in Fata Morgana. Now, before we jump into this video, I just want to give you guys a little update on the situation here. The reason I haven't been able to, well, the reason that I probably won't get too many videos out this week and maybe following into the next week a little bit. For one, I had some pretty bad allergies going on, which I don't usually have at this time of year, but my nose was super clogged and I could not go 5 seconds without sneezing, blowing my nose, and sounding nasally 24/7, so I didn't want to record a video then. And then also, depending on when this video comes out, it's either going to be the day of Hurricane Milton, which is about to hit in a couple hours. It's about to hit tonight. So I figured I'm feeling pretty decent. I might as well try and record a video before my power goes out for the next couple of days. So that's kind of the situation going on right now. Again, kind of depending on how this hurricane affects my location, it may be a little while before I'm able to get a video out to you guys. But yeah, if this is coming out afterwards, which I don't think it will, it probably will come out the day of. But anyways, yeah. So I believe that last time we left off, we kind of delved further into Morgana's story. If I remember correctly, what was her story? I completely forget it now. Okay. Whatever. Let's get into it. It'll come back to me. I'm not gonna try and sit here and remember this. Okay. Let's see. Yes, I remember now. Let me turn down my volume. Okay, so to catch you up a little bit. Basically, Morgana's whole story starts out in a... Sorry if you can hear my phone in the background. But Morgana's whole story starts out where she basically is this kid. Her mother told the whole village, oh yeah, my daughter's the daughter of God, right? Like, I totally didn't, commit adultery. This is just a holy child. So both the village and Morgana kind of ended up fully believing this, and it eventually became a thing where Morgana would give her blood to people because it was, her blood was supposed to be this holy healing blood. So obviously that gets out of hand. A lord comes in and her mother sells her off to this lord. The lord obviously completely abuses her, ties her to a table, and holds these big parties with a bunch of other high-ranking nobles where they cut her open and then they just all drink her blood. So eventually the peasants of the manor revolted and they saved Morgana, brought her to a whorehouse, essentially, where a bunch of prostitutes worked. A brothel, that's what it's called. They brought her to a brothel. At first she was kind of against the idea. She thought she was above them, but eventually she got to know them a little bit more and became comfortable there and was beginning to think, hey, maybe I actually found some happiness. Then, on the night of her birthday, when they were celebrating, a bunch of thieves ransacked the place, killed off all of the men, and, took all the prostitutes to sell them off. But Morgana, I believe, managed to get away, I think. So, it was something along those lines, but she ended... Oh no, here's what happened. I believe she actually got thrown back into the carriage. The carriage was then attacked by this... the carriage was then freed by one of the slaves, I believe, that was on there. He was like this maniac killer. So he killed the two guards, but then killed a whole shit ton of... pretty much all of the other slaves in the carriage, except Morgana. So then Morgana is just kind of wandering around in the woods, finds a cabin where this old witch had died, so she took over the cabin. Some people are coming and going. That's when, this flaxen-haired boy comes along, looking for medicine for his sick sister. So after a while, Morgana's like giving blood to the sister, thinking, oh yeah, I would give anything for these siblings here. And then, unsurprisingly, at the end of the day, the flaxen-haired boy betrays Morgana and ends up handing her over, basically, to the maniac killer who was on the wagon with her earlier. So, at this point in the story, her arm has been hacked off, given to the flaxen-haired boy, and she's being sent back to the Lord that was draining her of her blood for these sadistic parties. So that's where we've left off, essentially. Not the best explanation, but you get the point. So, jump right on back into it. The man brought me back to the city, but instead of taking me to the Lord's manor, he brought me to a church on the city's outskirts. Though, to be honest, it looked more like an estate than a church. The church also served as a hospital, offering free care to less fortunate children, the poor, and the infirm. That was when I learned why he had said they needed the money. The owner of the church offered unconditional assistance to anyone who came. Even when food and supplies ran low, they would ration their own in order to keep helping others. As a result, the church was perpetually on the verge of collapse. The church was run by a woman, someone exceedingly rare for the time. Something exceedingly rare. There were no priests. All management was handled by a single nun, who everyone referred to as the Saintess. I was the saint. Why was this woman, who didn't have the ability to perform miracles, being worshipped like she did? Why did the people of the city idolize her? Why were their smiles all directed at her? Why was I not in her place? The man carried me to the top of the observation tower. It was there that I had my reunion with the Lord. I was to spill my blood for the people of the city, but also for the Lord's prophet. He was not offering free aid, but selling it as medicine. He claimed it was a miracle elixir, telling no one that it was actually my blood. It was mixed with a beautiful red wine, and drinking it would cure you of any ailment. If they knew it was actually the blood of a witch, they wouldn't think it unclean. They would fear it. I remained imprisoned for a long, long time. In the beginning, the swordsman guarded me, though before long, the flaxen-haired young man showed up as well. Presumably one severed arm wasn't enough to keep his sister healthy for long. In listening to their conversations, I learned that, to ensure no one else could get in, the observation tower was sealed with 3 locks. The Lord, the swordsman, and the young man held each one of the keys. I was their secret, locked away in the tower for them to drain the blood of from wandering eyes. Okay, so obviously the flaxen-haired boy is the flaxen-haired boy. The swordsman is going to be the beast, and the Lord is going to be Jacopo. Interesting. Time went on, and I grew progressively weaker. I lost the will to eat, and the will to live. My only view from the tower was the clouds through a window high up on the wall. Occasionally a pigeon would fly in, sometimes a butterfly, and I would glare in envy as it fluttered around, free to come and go as it pleased. And soon, it was spring. Every spring, the church held a festival to pray for the coming year's harvest and the people's well-being. I could hear the bustle from far below through the window as everyone rushed to prepare. I heard the flaxen-haired girl's voice, who had regained her health drinking my blood. I heard her brother's voice, who had betrayed me. I heard the nun's voice, who played saint in my stead. I heard the barbaric swordsman, who had chopped off my arm. And I heard the Lord's voice, the roots of all my suffering. I heard people praising the saintess, though I, the true saint, was locked in the tower. I heard people thanking the Lord for his generous donations in miracle medicine, though it had all come from me. Propped up on my suffering, they cheered and clinked glasses of my bloody wine. Those merry, peaceful, cheerful, spirited sinners' voices resounded in my tower. And at noon on the day of the festival, the church bell tolled. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and with the 12th chime, I died. As the bell's last pealing faded into silence, the tower door swung open. Standing on the other side of it were the 3 men. They must have wanted to drain a little more from me to use in the feast, but they arrived at the worst possible moment. The flaxen-haired young man was the first to express his consternation. "Why, I never wanted her to die. Was she not eaten?" The Lord gave my corpse a casual glance and said, stone-faced, "Seal the tower off. Understood? No one finds out about this." "How can you be so calm? Do you understand what you've done?" "Huh, pinning the blame on me. How nice it must be to be able to distort reality with panic." The swordsman, who had been silently observing the Lord and the boy conversing, interjected, "You're just as guilty as any of us." Not only did they not mourn my death, they argued over whose fault it was. There was no regret, no remorse. The young man muttered absent-mindedly, I never wanted her to die." What is his intentions matter, though? It was his betrayal that had ultimately tethered me to this mansion. But the fact that they didn't grieve my death, and instead squabbled amongst themselves like filthy rats, was the final straw. How could I not despise them? I don't believe I actually had the power to perform miracles when I was alive. It was all in faith, the illusion of belief. I was neither a saint nor a witch. The bloody wine was only effective because people placed their faith in the other's saintness. I was only ever human. But then, in that moment, an actual miracle occurred. My father bestowed upon me his power, or perhaps it was the devil who lent me his strength. I was looking down upon my own dead body, my own wretched self. There was nothing beautiful about the pile of bones I had become. I could almost smell the rotting flesh. That was once a saint. I laughed at the thought. It was absurd, ridiculous, and infuriating. They would pay. Those who had cast me into this hell, who had mocked me, who had done this to me, who had made a witch out of me. Hatred coursed through me, revulsion at everyone on these grounds still smiling. They would know just whose dead shoulders their little party was resting upon. If they wanted so badly to call me a witch, then a witch I would be. I would kill them, every last one of them, place a curse on their souls. And so I made my wish. Most people might consider it a curse, but to me, it was most certainly a wish. And my father, or maybe the devil, granted that wish. From the garden, there rose a scream. The flaxen-haired young man knew that voice better than anyone. He went deathly pale, darting down the spiral staircase until he reached a window. A young girl was on her knees, vomiting blood into the grass. The young man let out a yelp as he descended the remainder of the staircase. As soon as he reached the garden, he lifted the girl in his arms, but she had already perished. Realizing this, he cried to the heavens, saying the one thing he should have kept to himself. "The witch killed her. The blood of the witch killed my sister. That wine you're drinking is no medicine. It's the blood of the witch. You're all drinking the blood of the witch." Crushed by the loss of his only family, the young man picked up a silver fork and plunged it into his own throat, ending his life. Naturally, there was an uproar. Goblets of wine crashed against the earth in rapid succession, as the people holding them fell to the ground and vomited and convulsed. The nun was the first target of their outrage. What she had claimed to be medicine had turned out to be blood, an unclean substance, the blood of a witch no less. A servant of the church, a servant of the Lord, had given her followers blood to drink, and at this their indignation surged uncontrollably. The people surrounded her, tying her up and throwing her to the ground. As they prepared to inflict righteous justice upon her, the swordsman soared down the stairs and into the garden, plunging his blade into anyone standing near the nun. The cries of agony ringing through the church grounds were ear-splitting. It was no longer a place of God, but hell on earth. Hell built by the hands of man. Hell painted red with the blood of their brothers. The people armed themselves with anything they could find and went after the man.
As much of a beast as he may have been, he stood little chance against such numbers. It is the fate of a beast to be exterminated by those he terrorizes, and once he was gone, the nun had no one left to protect her. She too was consumed by their frenzy. All that remained was an indistinguishable inferno, hysteria and despair, madness and outrage, and no outlet for it. It was a revolt that made the slaves' uprising at the Lord's Manor look like a game. Eventually their rage found a new target, the Lord. It was only natural, for he was the true villain. He was the one who had given money and the witch's blood to the church. He was the one who had profited off of it. And above all, people often resented those who stood above them, particularly in times of unrest. The city resounded with cries for the Lord's head, and he looked down upon it all from the safety of the observation tower. He could do nothing but watch as his domain burned. I can only imagine how painful it must have been. But before long, having seemingly made his peace, he began descending the spiral staircase. He opened the door at the bottom, revealing himself to his people. But before the door had swung all the way open, before he had a chance to say his final words, someone ran a blade through his chest. With that, the raging furor mostly settled down, but it was hardly the end of the destruction. Mere days later, a plague befell the city. Dreadful black spots covered the flesh of the infected. They writhed in pain, screaming and vomiting blood. Ghastly howls echoed through the streets, as though the whole city had been possessed. It became a cursed land. In their diseased haze, the people muttered again and again, "We've been cursed by the witch." In less than a week, the entire city was dead. My body was left abandoned at the top of the observation tower, and as if to seal the curse away, in their final days the people shuttered all the windows, wrapping the house in darkness. It's possible that was no miracle either. You can easily explain what happened to them. Locked away for so long in that dirty tower, maybe I caught some kind of disease, and then when the people drank my blood, they too were infected. Hardly anything out of the ordinary about that. The first to die, the girl, had already been ill. Her body merely chose the worst possible time to yield to her ailment. That was all that had happened. Indeed, it was nothing more than a fluke. An improbable stroke of luck. An unbelievably unfortunate accident for the city and those three men. And an undescribably fortunate accident for myself. But I wish to believe it was a miracle. That even if my blood didn't have healing properties, and even if I wasn't a saint, my wish, my curse, was what had caused that uprising. That was my miracle. Granted to be by God or the devil. I choose to believe that, and that my miracle took on its true form thereafter. My curse had brought about the death had brought death upon the three men, but for whatever reason, my rancor was far from sated. They had died. So what? Death is but a transient agony. It's nothing compared to what I went through. So I made my next wish. I wished for their reconstruction. I wished eternal suffering on their souls. I wished to trap them in a never-ending cycle of pain and hatred. This was my wish for the flaxen-haired young man. He treasured his dear sister, and he desired a quiet life. So I wished for him to have just that. And I wished for his dearly beloved sister to love him more than anything in the world, for his world to be destroyed by love gone too far. This was my wish for the beast-like man. He was conscious of his tendencies for violence, and he yearned to be more human. So I had his inner beast toned up just a little. I saw to it that he would never be human, so he would never have the peace he so desired. My wish for the Lord was more straightforward. He seemed to have a great affection for wealth and authority, so I ensured those things were the only things he could ever have. Who needs love or friendship when you could be drowning in power? Once he had lost everything, his solitude would be his only companion. Wishes can come true. As long as you always hold fast, never stop wishing, never surrender, they can come true. Eternal suffering on all their souls, an endless cycle of reconstruction and unavoidable tragedy. Tell me, my dear, do you sympathize with me? Will you curse them with me? Will you take my hand and revel with them with me?
Damn.
This time, when my body crashes into the tower's stairs, I'm unable to make a noise. The obstruction is less mental and more physical. The excruciating pain. It's so intense I can't even eke out a scream. My vision is distorted, my mind thick with fog. I feel like I'll fall into a bottomless pit if I loosen my grip on my consciousness even slightly. Through the haze, I see my own severed left arm. Reflected in a pool of blood, I see my face, large chunks of flesh peeled off. Look at you, trying to crawl up those stairs like a worm. How pathetic. It's like I'm looking at my old self. I can barely form a coherent thought. I can't lament her inhuman fate, can't mourn for her, or be shocked by the revelation about the 3 men and her history with them. Pain. It fills every corner of my mind, every nook and cranny of my body. You figured out by now, haven't you, my dear? You'll never make it to me. It's not possible. But it's not your fault. It's not because you're weak. There's simply no one who can bear this pain. You're allowed to give up, to rest. There's nothing wrong with that. The pain, the crushing weight, it's miserable, isn't it? But all you have to do is turn back, and it'll all go away. The witch whispers her sweet temptations. You've put in a fine effort. There's no shame at all in throwing in the towel. Her voice is soft, gentle, pleasant, saccharine. Concede defeat. If I do, it'll all go away. The searing pain spreading from the stump of my left arm. The sensation of being perpetually drained of my blood. The miserable solitude of staring at a door that never opens. The laughter I can hear through the window. My miserable wailing and this maddening hatred. I can end it all. That's right. It will all be over. You have the power to make it stop. Make it all stop. No! I can't let that happen. No! I have to get her back at my side. I'll do anything to get her back. Even if it means I end up 1,000 tiny scraps of meat. I will not give up on her for any reason. You won't, will you? Oh, such beautiful resolve. Willing to sacrifice yourself to save the girl? Like a hero of legend. Or maybe a fairy tale prince. No. I am no hero, and I am no prince. I am a human, an ordinary man. I don't have any extraordinary potential. I'm not a courageous leader or a charismatic general. I'm just a regular man. In love with a regular woman who refuses to lose her. I don't need any other accomplishments. Only that. That's all I need. Because I'm just a regular man. My one act of resistance. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter how much you cut me up. Nothing changes what I have to do. I have to get her back. And set her free of this mansion. Nothing else. And never will I back down on that. Arms or no, as long as I can move, I must push forward. I must make my way to the woman who waited for me for so long. Up, to the top of the tower. Forward, ever onward. Oh. Dragging my bloody body, paying the pain no mind, I once more arrive at the top of the observation tower. I place my hand on the door, holding myself up with my lacerated right arm. Take a moment to catch my breath, then lift my head. Gazing into the void and shout her name. Morgana! I pity you. I truly do. You are a saint shackled with an unfathomable fate, and for that I am enraged. As I felt your pain, as I watched your life
I too felt a burning hatred for those 3 men.
If you truly felt that way, then why can't you stay here with me? We're all dead anyway. We've reached our ends. Do you honestly think there's anything more waiting for us? There isn't. The end is the end. So what do you say the 3 of us, me, you, and Giselle, torture the 3 of them and everyone they cared about? Make them suffer here for all eternity, in this house. And that way, you and Giselle can be together forever too.
That's not an option.
Why not?
Because hatred only brings you pain.
Ha! Oh, that's brilliant. You shouting stupid platitudes at me. I can't believe my ears. Save your nonsense moralizing about how hatred does you no good. I won't hear it. I'm doing just fine for myself, my dear. In fact, I've never been better. I feel wonderful. Did you think that would be enough to persuade me? Really? Ah, how disappointing. And here I thought you understood me.
Morgana.
Why don't you say what you really think? Go right on ahead. Hate them as much as you want. But keep me and Giselle out of it. Why don't you just say that?
I do feel bad. Truthfully. For all the time we spent together. Never once did I ask about your life. I was so focused on myself. And in the end, I pushed you away.
That you did. You wanted to be with Giselle, so you pushed me out.
I wish I had asked you sooner.
It wouldn't have changed anything, though. One puny man knowing what I went through would hardly be enough to erase the loathing I bear. It would have turned out the same regardless. There was nothing you could have done for me. There is nothing.
Still, I would like to apologize. Had I known what you carried in your heart, perhaps I could have chosen my words better. Instead of rejecting you, I could have chosen some other response. I cannot remain in this house, nor can I allow her to stay either. So I would like to apologize for both my past actions and my present.
Well, in that case, open the door, Michael.
I take another moment to catch my breath, and then I gather my strength into the hand on the door. Blood seeps from my fingertips, slowly trickling down the rough surface. It reminds me of my death. I'm coming for you. Alright, I think we spent like maybe 2 full episodes or so on the staircase. So I push open the door, praying that it will be the last. That beyond it lies light for Giselle, and if possible, that it might cast a bit of light on Morgana's heart as well.
What?
However, why am I in my bedroom? What I find behind the door is the last thing I expect. Huh? As she appears from the shadows of my chambers, I can't conceal my surprise. Giselle? Is this another illusion, Morgana?
No, it's not. I am the real me. Thank you for coming all the way here to save me.
She's thanking me. So why isn't she smiling?
That was very kind and courageous of you, Michael. I'm deeply moved you would have such compassion not only for her, but for someone like me. But do you know what else you are? You're a worm.
What is it this time, Morgana?
What do you say we pull back the curtains, my dear?
What curtain?
There's one detail that is yet to come to light. This isn't your first return to the mansion, is it? You've been back numerous times, each time not remembering her, and each time hurting her even more.
What are you talking about?
What am I talking about? Oh, you know good and well, my dear. Or do you honestly believe that all the other pieces were in their rightful place, and that you alone were some exception?
I never...
Tell me, How was it? Living in so many different eras, not knowing who you were, and playing with all the different men.
No, you're out of your mind. You make it sound like I was...
Not like, my dear. You are the white-haired girl.
Enough! How could anyone possibly confuse me with her?
To tell you the truth, I couldn't see you as anyone else. Your white hair, red eyes, porcelain skin, and your name. Tell me, what about you isn't the same?
We're not the same person. I
saw the letter.
What?
The one you had hidden.
No.
And you didn't think that was worth mentioning.
No, Giselle, I didn't mean...
You're exactly right, my dear Giselle. He deceived you. He kept a very important secret from you. Despite showing up multiple times, he cast you aside again and again.
No, that wasn't me. It was...
It all makes sense now. Nothing you ever did was for me.
Giselle, I...
Go on, Giselle. Tell him exactly how you feel. Michael. Please don't. Don't say it. Not that, please. I'm begging you.
Stop. Please don't, Giselle.
Not actually.
Please. Don't say it.
A man at all, are you? You're disgusting.
Huh? What?
Whoa!
What? I'm so confused. I am so confused.
You're the only one it could have been, my dear. The only one who could have been the white-haired girl. The next moment, my whole world comes tumbling down. I could have borne anything. Losing my arm, having my face torn off. Any amount of pain, I could have handled it. For you, I could have done it. But this, hearing those words coming from your mouth, being rejected by you, that I cannot. Those words, they bury me alive. And you're the one person I never wanted to hear them from.
Holy shit. So Michael was a girl the whole time? And I tried to give him like a pretty manly voice. What the fuck?
When I learned my father, Antonin, had passed, I wrote 2 letters, one to my brother and one to my mother. It was the first time I had found the courage to face my mother, to open up to her. I wanted to show her who I was, convince her that I wasn't cursed, so I could be myself when I returned to the capital with Giselle. Dear Mother, there's something I wish to tell you, something that means a great deal to me. So I ask of you, please hear me out. And I ask of you, please accept it. Mother, I no longer bear any resentment for my present lot in life. Nevertheless, I would ask of you to concede one thing. That I was never cursed. That I was always your son. That I am Michael, not Michelle. I found someone whom I care for dearly. A woman. And I love her with all my heart. I would like to spend the rest of my life with her. I do not wish for much, simply to have a quiet life with her, to go through our days together, man and woman. That is the one thing I want. Mother, I know you're aware that my body is no longer female. I am a man. My heart is male, and I ask of you to please accept that. I have no grudge with you. In fact, I'm incredibly grateful to you for bringing me into this world. With love, your dear son.
What the fuck? This is what?
Shortly after sending that letter, I was killed.
So is he trans or like? I'm so confused.
I'm dragged down, against my will, into the darkness. Beneath me spreads my own past. My door. The door I swore never to open. Despite all my efforts to resist, the door sucks me in. Into a world I never wanted to see again. A history I never wanted revealed. A past I never wanted anyone to see. Nonetheless, the door opens.
The seventh door. What the fuck? 1086 to something or the other.
There were two things out of the ordinary about that baby. The first its parents embraced, and the second they wholly rejected. Although, it was some time before the baby's second peculiarity emerged, and until it finally did, no one was the wiser, not even the child itself. Its mother surely enjoyed that brief period of happiness before her child finally realized the truth. Blind to the fact that the moment it had let out its first cry, everything came crashing down. To this day, she still doesn't know the child she gave birth to, that she let loose a curse upon the world, a curse that had turned angels into demons, humans into witches.
What is happening? What the fuck is happening?
My God, look at that!
She's beautiful, isn't she? Have you seen her laugh?
Not yet, I haven't. At any rate, that color certainly is something else.
God's gift to us. No, she's an angel sent from heaven.
An angel? Ah, yes, I can see it now, Lizzie. Her white hair and almost translucent skin, it's beautiful.
My, she opened her eyes. Maybe she felt you nearby. Do you like your father more than me? Is that it, sweetheart? Gorgeous, aren't they? Such a deep, enchanting color. Like two little jewels.
Ah, that they are. A magnificent shade of red. I've never seen anything like it. And this is our child.
She's special. I can feel it. We have to take good care of her. She needs a name. One just as special as her. Have you already chosen one, Antonin?
You were the one begging for a girl. You do it. Besides, I had already racked my brain for the boys' names. Now it's your turn.
Are you really going to let me? My, that's quite a lot of pressure.
Name her after an angel, then.
Oh, I like that. All right, then. We'll call her Michelle, after the archangel Michael. You'll grow up to be beautiful as an angel, my Michelle. I've always wanted a little girl.
With her snowy white hair, skin so pale you could see the veins beneath it, and her ruby red eyes, she was a very peculiar-looking little girl, and her mother showered her with love. She truly believed her daughter was an angel sent from above, born as a human child. The blessed babe, born a girl, was given an angel's name. Michelle. Me.
Okay, before we continue, I'm gonna throw some theories out there. So at the very least, at first I thought it might have been like a trans thing, which wouldn't have made much sense to me considering the times. That kind of surgery wouldn't have really been possible. So the way that it just kind of described it, like, oh, you know, the whole angels to demons and humans to witches thing, I could maybe see this as potentially being I know that there's some kind of like, I mean, there's something out there, right? It's some kind of genetic thing where like they can be born a female but then have male body parts, that kind of deal. So maybe it's something like that, but more of like a over time it developed kind of thing. That's that could be something right there. And then, I mean, obviously, I'm not surprised that they would have called him cursed and thrown him out. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Now, of course, this is a story with, witches and curses and stuff like that. So that also could play a role in this whole ordeal as well. This kind of thing of maybe he's been cursed to be a man. I don't know. Something like that. But obviously that's got to come as a huge shock for Giselle, though, to find out, oh, the guy that I loved so very dearly, to the point where I basically submitted myself to years and years, to fucking eons of immortality and just kind of bland suffering. All to find out that he wasn't actually a guy all along. Yeah, I think that would come as a shock to anybody. But let's keep going here.
Checkmate.
Gah! I see, that's how you did it. Curses, I completely overlooked that. And I thought you were advancing with your pawns, but that was all a diversion.
You're too short-sighted, Didier. You need to look at the big picture. Sometimes it's the tactician and not the soldier holding the sword.
Haha, you got me. You're quite good at this, Michelle. What inspired you to take such an aggressive strategy?
It was not inspiration. It was derivation.
Derivation?
Chess is in many ways similar to real war tactics.
Ah, my military texts. You've read all of them, haven't you?
I have nothing but time.
Impressive. Even I haven't read all the books in my room. You planning to join the Order with that kind of knowledge?
You jest. You're the one who's going to be a knight, Didier.
That I am. War is the men's job, after all. I want you to be there to welcome me home.
Didier! Oh, Didier! I'm in a bit of a bind. Oh, hello there, Michelle. I didn't know you were at home, Georges.
I just got back, yep.
Oh, playing chess again, are ya? Let's see, what do we have here?
Get away from the board.
Yikes, you got trounced, huh?
And you call yourself her big brother. As if you're any better.
That's not funny, Georges. I cannot approve of someone who can't keep up with the flow of battle becoming a knight. Given our family's rank, you would eventually be put in charge of other soldiers.
What, are you worried about me?
No, I'm saying...
I've been blessed with such a caring sister. But fear not, I have a guardian angel after all.
Where's the logic in that? Sorry to interrupt your, moment, but... There's nobody listening to me.
Haha, now, don't pout. So, what seems to be the problem, Georges?
Yes, listen to this. The Royal Court was holding a swordsmanship show, and for some reason I was selected to participate.
How unfortunate for you. I can already see you on the ground sobbing.
Hey now, that's just mean. Besides, my hands weren't meant to hold a sword. Look at these dainty fingers. They're covered in calluses. Dainty calluses! Tell me, why would they have an artist sword fight?
That's the whole point, I would think. No need to get so worked up, no one's expecting you to win.
Maybe not, but we do have a name to worry about. And you know what that means, don't you? I'm going to lose, that's a given. But I want to do it in style.
I feel bad for your sword.
Oh, don't be like that. Now come on, time's a-wasting. To the courtyard we go.
Just so you know, if I train you, I'm going to train you right.
All I want to know is how to look good.
What is it, Michelle?
May I watch? Fine with me, but you know you can't go outside. I'll be watching from the hall. I can open one of the windows facing the courtyard.
Still, you need to be more careful. You can't spend too much time in the sun.
I know.
Huh, interesting. I had 2 older brothers. The eldest, Didier, belonged to an order of knights that served the church, and below him was Georges, who served as a court artist. He was, in all likelihood, who would inherit the family estate, as knights were not formally allowed to own property. Nevertheless, the Boulingers' family was upheld by Didier. And then there was me, the youngest, the only daughter. Physically, I was not in particularly good health. Because of the color of my skin, I was hypersensitive to the sunlight. I rarely left the estate. My world was contained entirely within these walls. And perhaps out of some sense of pity or compassion, my 2 brothers spent a good deal of time with me. Didier played chess with me, and Georges taught me how to draw. And among other things, they taught me how to read and write. For a girl, I was incredibly fortunate. The one thing I wasn't allowed to do, though, was hold a sword. While hardly anything unusual, it bothered me deeply. And it had for as long as I could remember. If I had been told I couldn't do it because I lacked the strength, I probably would have accepted it. But the reason given was not that I was weak, but that I was a girl. And with each passing year, the smoldering frustration in the back of my heart grew larger.
Come on, put your back into it. Like I said, all I want to do is put on a good show. Oh, you'll put on quite a show, unless you learn how to swing that sword properly. Give me a break.
Out in the garden, my 2 brothers traded swords bare-chested. All I could do, though, was observe from afar. And every time I found myself forced to watch, I felt a sharp pain, like a needle piercing my chest. A needle that seemed to be growing ever thicker. My mother and brothers loved me dearly, but that didn't change the fact that the outside world lay beyond my reach. I was trapped in the estate by my own body. At first, I thought that was the root of my pain, but that answer seemed to contradict something inside me, something I couldn't explain. Something I couldn't ignore, even as a child. So I searched within myself, trying to find an explanation for the constantly swelling sensation of wrongness inside me. Day after day, I gazed into the cavern of my own heart.
My, now what are the 2 of them doing out there? Georges was asked to do a swordsmanship show at the royal court, so Didier's helping him. Swordsmanship? Oh, I just can't stand those shows. Blades are so dangerous, I can't stand watching people swing them at each other. Why don't you go back to your room with me, Michelle? I would love to teach you how to sew. But Mom, I want to watch them practice. Michelle? First of all, you need to watch how you speak, young lady. You do not call me Mom, you call me Mother. This is what happens when you spend so much time around boys. As your mother, I don't approve of you playing chess or making art. A woman has no need for such skills. They will only make you look insolent. But I want you to grow up to be a respectable woman. That is my job and my dream as your mother. Now come. I'd rather you look at some fine embroidery with me than a couple of sweaty men. Yes, Mother. You are my little girl, after all.
Spending time with my mother was agonizing. Was it because her world was so isolated? No, that wasn't it. Her gentle voice, the sweet scent of her perfume, the way she constantly told me how much she loved me, and her diatribes about how wonderful it was to be a girl. Everything she did put so much pressure on me. Above all, she loved to say, "You are my little girl, after all." And there was nothing strange about that at all. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw the daughter of a noble. That was who I was. So the only thing wrong was how I felt. But every time I was faced with the reality of who I was, my heart wavered. I had no interest in learning to embroider. I didn't understand why that was necessary. I knew what purpose it served. Everything she taught me I would need to know if I was wed off to some noble boy, and it was my responsibility to learn those things. It didn't feel right, though. I couldn't even accept the fact that one day I would be married. It was but an ominous shadow lurking in my future. I would have preferred ravaging the books in Didier's room more than having a conversation with my mother. Tales of heroes of old and dauntless soldiers. Military attacks written by tacticians in the midst of war. Thinking about them set my heart aflutter and made me think about my brother. He was training to be a knight. I envisioned armored flecked with rust, a long sword glimmering with the blood of savages. Soon I found myself in fantasies, imagining how the world would feel in my hands. how the sword would feel in my hands, the sensation of the hilt beneath my fingers, swinging it gallantly like my brother. How heavy was it? How much muscle would I need to carry it? How much impact would I feel in my hands when I struck something? How restricted would my vision be wearing a helmet? How much did it weigh? How hot was it inside? I had no way of answering any of those questions, though. Kill me now! I have some cloth, if you'd like to wipe yourselves off. Oh yeah, thanks. I'm so dead. You were at it for a long time. I've never known D to house off something once he gets started, which I guess is what makes him knight material, but... Are you opposed to him becoming a knight? Well, you know, I'd kind of assumed he'd inherit the estate and handle taking care of everything. So it's like, why have I got to go and be some priest whipping boy? Don't tell him I said that, though. He wants to fight for the greater good. I don't know. Despite the name, he wouldn't be doing much fighting himself. Anywho, someone as passionate as him might be able to make changes for the better. Changes? He knows what condition the Order's in. That's why he's joining. Figure he wants to whip him into shape. Melt him down and reforge the whole thing. Huh. So he might be able to change things. What? What are you muttering about, Michelle? Hey, whoa, hold it! The pain I felt in my chest when I smelled the sweat emanating from Georgette's body. When I looked at his slender but distinctly male build, I was convinced it was admiration. Did I want to become a knight too? Maybe the discomfort I felt was because I wanted to be like him. Would it all go away if I were able to change the rules and I could join the Order as well? I was positive it would. Ugh. Didier!
Michelle? Hold on. You can't come barging into my room unannounced. I'm trying to change.
We need to talk.
I said stop. You're a girl. You can't just walk in on a man while he's changing.
I see no reason for you to be so self-conscious.
Listen to me, Michelle.
George just told me you're planning to overhaul the Order.
He told you that? No, I hardly have such grand aspirations.
Don't be coy. I believe you have what it takes to do it, Didier.
What's gotten into you? You're unusually fiery today.
So I want to ask you a favour. When you have enough influence in the Order, I would like you to make me a knight too.
You what?
I'm tired of the way Mother treats me, always saying I can't do this or that because I'm a girl. I want to learn how to swing a sword. I don't want to do embroidery. I don't care about jewellery or fancy clothing.
Michelle, what's gotten into you?
I'm so much more interested in the world you live in, Didier. So please.
Well, I'll be. I suppose we must have let ourselves be spent too much time with you.
Not you two. That's exactly what Mother said.
First of all, Michelle, you don't have the strength to hold a sword.
Then I'll train until I do. And if that doesn't work, I still have my mind. You know good and well I could.
People are not chess pieces, Michelle.
But it's yeah.
But above all, you're missing the most important point. I will not for any reason be the kind of man who makes a woman take up a sword.
Yeah.
This may seem normal to you, growing up with two brothers, but I want you to listen to me, Michelle. Men and women walk different paths. Men wield swords and fight against dangerous enemies, and they do so to protect the weak, women and children. I'm here to protect you and your mother.
You're no different than her. You don't treat me any differently than her.
Honestly, what's gotten into you, Michelle? Why wouldn't I treat you like a daughter of the Bollinger estate? Your brother and I, we never meant to make you think.
Forget it.
What?
I'm sorry. I knew what I was asking was foolish.
Oh?
But I thought you would understand how I feel. Even just a little bit.
What was I expecting him to understand? Even I didn't understand the things I felt. I wanted to know what had gotten into me far more than he did. What I had done was no better than throw a temper tantrum,
Was I that desperate to become a knight? No. I just thought that the key to the chains in my heart lay down that road, but ultimately there was nothing. Assuming Didier had agreed, and assuming I did become a knight, it wouldn't do anything for the core of the problem. As I dashed from my brother's room, I snuck a peek at him. His face was filled with intense perplexity, and how could I blame him? I tried to push a dozen different ideals onto him at once, filled myself with a vain hope that he would somehow be able to make sense of me when I couldn't even make sense of myself. And now, bubbling with unwarranted anger at being let down, I fled to my own chambers. I can only imagine how frustrating that must have been for him.
Also, I want to throw in there, maybe the whole sex change thing never happened at all. Maybe we are still a woman. But I feel like there was a point where we were getting... Well, no, because we have gotten, like, freaky with Giselle, though. So, we'll see. We're actually going to stop it right here, though. Oh god, not this. Oh, fuck me. Okay, hold up. I gotta tab out, tab back in. Okay, so it was the spring of our 14th year. Heavy clouds filled the sky, blocking out the sun, giving the impression of la 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 throughout the day. It's kind of, well, it's not a bad spot to stop off. We're gonna stop. We're gonna go ahead and do this. Bang, bang, bang. Go back and go ahead. Okay, so yet again, this fucking game with its twists and turns, it never ends. So the white-haired girl was in fact real. Not only was she real, she was Michael. Not only was she like Michael in a different body. No, she was straight up Michael. This is straight up Michael. So again, I guess right now, as we do with a lot of these episodes, the biggest question I have is when Morgana said, when we learn that, oh, Michael, you were not a man at all, are you? Is this a thing where it's like our body underwent changes into becoming a man? Is this a thing where it's like we identify as a man? Is this a thing where there's some magic and sorcery involved? Like, I don't know. I don't know if this is like an identity. Again, going over it again, I don't know if this is like an identity thing. I don't know if this is something where he's undergone like physical changes since being born a girl to then identify, to, you know, then quote unquote be a man. You know what I'm saying? So we don't really know the extent of this, which obviously we're going to find out because, you know, yeah. But I feel like there was a scene where both Giselle and Michael were like naked together, whether it was like a freaky sesh or what. But I feel like so that small little, that faint memory of mine is the only reason I think that maybe it was like a physical change that happened some way or the other. But again, we don't really know. So we're going to have to figure out what the hell's going on with Michael's background. We're going to have to figure out why he even plays any kind of an important role with Giselle's life and with Morgana. And we're going to have to figure out, Giselle, like, getting over this potentially, if at all. Because, again, it's a pretty big thing. You know, like, for me, if I'm sitting there and it's like, oh yeah, this, you know, this person who I'm pretty sure is a woman, right? Like, hey, look, you look like a woman, you act like a woman, yada yada yada. And especially considering that Giselle was born in a time when, like, yeah, it wouldn't be very far-fetched to think that two women being together romantically would be like a disgusting thing, right? Like, that's obviously what they would think back then. So it's, I'm obviously going to be very intrigued as to how we're going to smooth this over with Giselle. But yeah, this game really just keeps throwing shit at you, doesn't it? But that's going to be it for this time. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like on the video. Tell me in the comment section below what you'd like to see me play next. If you enjoyed this video or any of the videos or series on my channel, then I highly recommend that you hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you'll be notified when a new one of those videos comes out. Anyways, that's it from me, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!